So I know some of you have experienced difficulties. So maybe if you can all talk, or few of you can talk about the obstacles, or what you were experiencing, or what were the difficulties that you had with making the final decision. So maybe Jenna, I can start off.
Yeah. Like I said before, it was like kind of really hard because like I had my mind set on John Jay because I really wanted to be a criminal justice major at the time, and I thought that's what I wanted to do, and I felt like it would have been a really interesting thing. But then when I realized that my grades wasn't the best, it wasn't extremely discouraging, but I just knew that I had to like strive harder for when I got into BMCC. But then when I got into BMCC, I realized it just criminal justice wasn't the right fit for me. And sometimes when you think you have something in your head, but then you actually go through it, you realize it's not always the best fit for you. And I decided to take some other classes, and I actually enjoyed taking my sociology classes. So I feel like the only obstacle for me would have been like not going into John Jay directly, but I also feel like it was fate in a way because I ended up not liking the criminal justice classes that I was taking. So I'm pretty sure like everything happened for a reason. So yeah.
A hardship I would say I experienced when applying to college, like where students are now in terms of making decisions and weighing out their options. Something that I kind of struggled with initially was John Jay was actually the first college I was ever accepted to, and I was over the moon about it. I was so convinced that I was going to go. I was like, yes, this is my number one CUNY. I'm definitely going to go. I was offered a full ride, so I wouldn't have had to pay anything in tuition at all. But then I had to kind of come to terms with myself in regards to what I wanted to do with my career, and just kind of have a conversation with myself about if John Jay was the best place to go to study what I wanted to study. When I graduated from high school and I was already registered for my college classes, I was a bio major at the time. And so I realized that attending St. Francis and taking bio classes would have been probably more successful for me, and just would have contributed more towards my path in working in healthcare than doing it at John Jay. Not that John Jay doesn't have those classes, but just because St. Francis is actually a nursing school, and so they have a lot of fields in which can assist you, and a lot of resources that can assist you going to graduate school in whether it's nursing or pre-med or pre-dental. And so if I had wanted to do something in criminal justice, I would have definitely said, okay, John Jay, let's go. It's free. And that was kind of a struggle that I had because I had to accept the fact that I would be paying for college, but I would be getting an education that is more sufficient towards my goals and my career. So that was definitely a decision that was pretty hard to make because nobody wants to pay for college, but that's just something that I had to do.
Great. Thank you so much, Amani. I appreciate it. So my final question today is, if you think back, you've experienced your college life already about a year. Unfortunately, the second semester wasn't exactly as we all planned. But if you could go back in time, maybe to your younger self or to maybe the students, what advice would you give based on your experiences already as your first year college student?
Yeah, so I think for me, I have quite a few tips that I would tell myself, maybe about four. So first off, mi- I don't know if anyone knows this, but Middlebury College is a liberal arts college, and so I think there's a lot of beauty behind a liberal arts education, and I was definitely told all of this going through the posse process, and even from people who later found out that that's where I was going. And I wish for me I took advantage of that opportunity, at least early on in my like academic career at Middlebury. Because for me, I went into college thinking I would, do poli sci, be a double, poli sci, an economics major, and like hopefully go into like corporate law once I graduate. Um, but I didn't do that. I'm not, that was not what I ended up doing. And I took a lot of classes my freshman fall that was completely focused with that in mind, and I didn't enjoy any of them. And I kind of wish I used my freshman fall to kind of explore different things. So I feel like I would have found my interests a lot faster than just my sophomore year. My sophomore year is still pretty early on, but I definitely feel as though I would have found it a little bit earlier than that. I think my second tip would be that once you do find something that you are passionate about, I kind of wish I really jumped on, reaching out to professors and, spending more time at my career services office, just so that, I can get my hands on research opportunities, early on, and not necessarily just wait until, my junior spring or the summer going into my senior year to really start doing research. I think that would have put me in better terms, at least, let things go a bit smoother for me in terms of the research. I really wish I took advantage of that. Um, I also, so another thing that I would tell myself is to not compare yourself to other people. For me at least, once I realized I wanted to do science, I didn't really come from a place that put the most emphasis on science, or at least for me, like that's not what my true focus was when I was in high school, because I was so, you know, I was so confident that I wanted to be a lawyer. So I didn't really focus on the science that much, on the sciences when I was in high school. And so when I got to college and I was in chem classes and I was, in lab, I was just like, I have no idea what's going on here. And for me, that was super discouraging because everyone else around me seemed as though they understood what was going on and they seemed super confident in those spaces. And I was comparing myself to these people. And I was just saying, like, maybe I'm not meant to do this if I'm not, as comfortable as he is or she is. And I think for me, just from that experience, one, it's like, everyone's coming from a different background when you start college. Some people are stronger in one area and then other people are stronger in something else. You can't really compare yourself to other people when you're not coming from the same starting point. You don't have the same foundation. Number two, at least for students at my school, they've always told me they tend to be the most confident when they have no idea what's going on. Maybe that's just something I need to adopt, but that most certainly is not me. So there's that. And I would say, like, my final tip that I would tell myself is to just enjoy yourself. Take your time and care for yourself. Prioritize self-care, self-love, because you cannot be a great student if you yourself are not doing great. So those would be my tips.
I agree with Malika. I think that I kind of wish early on I had realized what I was passionate about, or at least entered college with an open mind. Um, I know I mentioned before I entered college as a biology major, and I kind of had like tunnel vision about this pre-med path, and I actually did pursue it for a year until I took a psych class one semester, and I just realized that that's where my passion lied. Like, I did not feel like I was obligated or like I was doing any work when I was learning about psychology. It was more so just something that I enjoyed and something that I was able to retain and something that I was able to apply to my everyday life. And I realized then that that was what I should have been studying and pursuing. And so I took another psych class, and just to confirm with myself, and once I realized that I was absolutely in love with it, I changed my major. And not that I regret this, but I did spend a year being a biology major, and the graduate schools that I do plan on pursuing still allow me to use those classes, so they weren't a complete waste. But I just kind of wish that I knew where my head was at and what I was passionate about in terms of what I was studying, just so that I kind of would have been less stressed during my freshman year of college, because it was an entire year that I spent just really emphasizing and doing my best in courses that I didn't really need. And I just kind of wish I applied that towards my side classes. So some advice I have to you is just to enter college with an open mind, maybe wait a semester or a year to declare your major, just so that you can kind of test the waters with several different courses and see what it is that best suits you. A lot of people kind of have tunnel vision about one specific area and they think, no, I can't possibly be good at anything else. I would have never guessed that I would major or get a bachelor's degree in psychology ever. And that's something that I'm kind of glad I found out. And even though it was an accident, I did come to that conclusion. So I would say just be open-minded, take things one step at a time. Don't promise yourself anything, because you can declare a major and absolutely hate it. It wastes your time, it wastes your money, and you end up really miserable. So I would say just listen to your heart and your mind when picking a major. And when you take your classes, just remember that you are taking them for a reason. And these classes, especially freshman classes, are designed to teach you just enough about the field so that you know what it is that you're getting yourself into declaring your major. So I would say not to guarantee anything or promise anything towards yourself, but just to walk in college not really knowing what you want to do.
My advice for my previous self, or for the students who are going into college, like Amani said, be open. But in my case, it was different because I was not open with the students like my peers. And I feel like that's where I struggled, because you can't really enjoy college to the fullest if you're going through it alone, in a sense. So it wasn't until like basically the ending, like right now, the ending of my first year, where I'm actually like making friends and like getting out there. So I feel like being open to friendships and stuff, like yes, you do live in New York and you already have your friends here, but there's different friends that you have, because those friends most likely aren't going to the same college as you. So they're not going to be able to sit with you at lunch or like go to tutoring with you and stuff. So I think that also helps. And another piece of advice would probably be to don't be afraid to ask for help, because no matter if it's just that friend that you made in that one class and you guys only talk in that one class, but it's not like no one's going to judge you for asking for help, because you're all possibly going through the same thing, or they went through it already and they can help you in a sense. So that would be my advice.
I feel like my advice would be just three small ones. One, it's super important to make sure that you're checking your emails like constantly. Like I remember one time my teacher had emailed us that class was canceled, and it was like a 10 a.m. class, so I had to leave my house by 9, and BMCC is in the heart of the city, and I just didn't look at my email that day, so like I ended up going all the way in the bottom of Manhattan for no reason when I didn't have to. So it's really frustrating, and you mess up on like a lot of other opportunities. For example, another tip from me would be to make sure that you stay on top of your financial aid stuff. And that is super important solely for the fact that if you are getting a full like scholarship or anything like that, or financial aid covers everything and you do not submit certain documents, you're going to end up having to pay out of pocket. And I know not a lot of us come from like a really wealthy family, or like some of us are going to college for the first time from out of our family. So we don't really have the money or like the means to like go to college to just spend the money. So like that's another important thing. Just make sure you stay on top of your financial aid and you're fast for tap and help. And then lastly, I would say office hours are like your best friends. Like regardless of the fact that even if you're doing amazing in that class, it still does not hurt to show up to an office hours with your professors at least once or twice a week, just to get them familiarized with your face so they know your name, just in case you take a test one day and you're on the verge of failing. Because you went to that professor's office hours and you prove that you're motivating and you actually want to learn and you're passing the class, but you just can't get it, they might help you out. Professors, they may seem scary, but believe it or not, they're actually human. So like if you try to work with them, they'll meet you halfway. So like it doesn't hurt to just go to office hours. I know it may seem like a drag, but like an hour for one or twice a week, it's not that bad really. Um, yeah, I feel like those would be all my tips for any students going to
All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the feedback and also giving your really wonderful advice to the students. So just finally to say that if you're interested in getting to, not even necessarily to know the peer leaders, but if you have more questions for each peer leader, just like text me or text me at 315-243-0921. Or if you have any questions about college in general, we're here to support you. And especially, I know how difficult it is to begin the transitioning from high school to college, especially now with everything that's going on in the world. Remember that as an alumni manager, I'm here to help you with financial aid, with academic advising, with any other issues you might be having, or just wanted to chat. I'm definitely there for you. So again, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day.